welcome back to my channel, Drunk Crafts with Paige. I am Paige, and this week I am continuing to drink some of these delicious pomegranate blueberry mics because they're so good, and I'm probably going to be drinking them until the end of summer, even though I guess summer technically hasn't started yet. And I am also here with another mystery mold reveal. For those of you who missed our previous videos, I bought a bunch of 3D silicone molds for resin pieces. I am very excited about them. Typically the pieces we do are flat, kind of like coasters or wall hangs. So for these 3D molds, I decided to play a game with you guys. I will show you the mold and give you some of the dimensions, and you guys can try to guess what it is a mold of before I demold the resin piece. And this week I'm actually going to be giving you guys a pretty big hint, but if you are still interested in playing along and seeing what we're making, continue watching. Let me grab my ruler real quick so I can give you guys some of the dimensions. So here is our silicone mold. It is 2 different halves, and it is roughly close to 2 inches tall, about 1 inch across, and only like 1/4 of an inch thick. But here comes the spoiler. Are you ready? This is for a necklace. This is a pendant. But the cool thing is how these 2 different halves work together, and that was actually what intrigued me and the reason why I bought it. Another added bonus for this project is that I bought a bunch of pigments from solarcolordust.com. This is not a promotion for them, but I have seen people use their products everywhere. They have that super cool liquid crystal that kind of gives the mood ring effect, and they also have a whole bunch of thermal dust, which is what I bought. This is actually triple thermal dust, which means it's going to change into 3 different colors depending on the heat. And more specifically, it'll probably be body heat since this is for a necklace. So I wanted to use some of these. We are gonna test them out. We're gonna test out this new mold. Let's get started. Now the tricky thing about this project is I only have 1 of these molds. And I would like to show you guys several of these pendants using the different kinds of thermal dust. So we're going to have to do 1 at a time, making this side first, and then I'll show you guys how you're supposed to go about using the second side. And the different colors we are going to be using, I'm going to mix them in with the resin each time. We're going to be using this deep plum / violet / pink. It will change to each of those colors as the heat activates it. And then also one that goes from red to mustard to lime. And then an additional one that goes from dark green to cyan to coral. This one I'm excited about. So we're gonna make 3 different pendants, each of them being this side, and each of them are gonna have a cool different thermal powder inside of them. The first half of our 3 pendants is done, and I'm so excited to show you guys what these pigments do when they're heated. So without heat, here's our violet one. It goes from deep plum to violet to a pink. Here's our next one. It is a green. It starts out dark green, goes to like a cyan, and then to coral. And here's our last one. It's a kind of peachy red color, and it goes from red to mustard to lime. And here's some awesome clips of what these pendants look like when they are heated. Each of these pigments changes color when it reaches 82 degrees Fahrenheit and 95 degrees Fahrenheit. So you can bet that if we're using these as pendants, that each of them is going to change based on like your body temperature or the weather outside, or if you're standing in the sun. So once again, our problem is that I only have 1 of these molds, so I'm going to have to do this again 3 separate times. But we are going to take this first half that's kind of wavy and bumpy looking, kind of like a topographical map or like the layers of the ocean. We're gonna line it up with the hole in this second half, and it just fits really nicely into that second half of the pendant. And I've found that using clear or more translucent colors of resin looks a lot better, because then you can see all of those super cool designs that we made in the first half. So I'm just going to be pouring clear, regular resin into all of these so we can see the super cool different colors from these color changing pigments, and also so we can see the design of this pendant. Our 3 pendants are done curing, and I thought it would be fun to do a different style of necklace with you guys and to use some cord. So we are going to be tying kind of a adjustable knot to make some necklaces for these pendants. So I'm going to take a decent amount of cord because we want this necklace to start out really big, or I guess not really big. We want it to start out pretty big, and then you can use the knot to tighten it to make it hang however long you want. And I'm gonna go ahead and put the pendant on this cord. So in half, this cord is roughly like 18 inches long. And I'm gonna do my best to lay the strings out for you guys so you can see how to tie this. We are going to keep the string on the left side is gonna go up top, while the string coming in from the right side is gonna go on the bottom. Now the string on the right, we are gonna loop over this string, make it go down, up and over both strings, and it's going to come down and through the middle of the loop. I'm not going to tie it tight yet. We're going to do the same thing sort of in reverse on the opposite side. So this is the string that's on the top. It's going to go over the string, around, and then back over, and then behind, and then come in and through the loop. And now we can go ahead and tighten both of these knots. And so the long string is what's going to loosen it, and your little tails you made are what's going to tighten the necklace. Now once I have this and I know where my knots are, I'm gonna center my pendant and just kind of knot it in place. This is totally optional. If you want your pendant to kind of roam free, totally up to you. And there is one of our necklaces. And I'm going to do the same thing to all of my pendants. We have 3 pendants done and they are hung on 3 necklaces, and I just wanted to quick talk about some of the things that I learned while making them. Now the first one I did was this purple colored pendant, and I realized while making the first one that it's very difficult to heat these with the heat gun and to get rid of all the bubbles. Not only is it difficult to see because of using clear resin, but when I hit it with the heat gun, the resin kind of overflowed and moved a whole lot, and I didn't want to disturb the actual appearance of the pendant. So for that pendant, I mostly just used a toothpick to try to get all of the bubbles out that I could. So the second one I made was this bluish green kind of color, and I actually ended up hitting this one with a flame. Flame is not really recommended to use for silicone molds. It can make the mold brittle and break and can decrease the lifetime of your mold. But I was very careful when I tried to do it, and I also used the toothpick to pick out any extra air bubbles, and we still ended up with quite a few in there. It looks a little fuzzy from all the micro bubbles. So for the third one I made, this kind of coral looking one that turns green and then yellow, I actually babysat it a bit more. I hit it with the flame, I picked out some of the bubbles, I let it rest for a little bit, and then I repeated, continuing to hit it just a little bit with the flame and teasing out any bubbles I could get. And actually, I think this one turned out much better than the other two. There are hardly any micro bubbles in here, and any that are present are very, very small. Another thing that I noticed is some minor imperfections on the very back of my mold, and that's just from the clear resin not fully enveloping the first part that we made. So in my opinion, maybe making some of these pendants would do best if you had like a sander and some polish and something to really like smooth out some of these edges to make it look just really pristine. Here are some up close shots out in the natural light so you guys can take a good look at what I'm talking about. So despite some minor things for these necklaces, I think they actually turned out really well, and we've got these adjustable strings that you can go and shorten it to whatever length you want. So I'd say an overall win. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed it, and if you did, feel free to leave a like and even subscribe to the channel. Make sure you're following me on Instagram and Facebook. The links are down in the description box below, as well as my PayPal account. And there's a list of all of the materials we used if you would like to try to make anything at home. I'll see you guys all for the next video. Cheers!